Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I'd like to clarify one thing before we bring this meeting to order. Earlier this morning, we had a budget workshop which was recessed, or I want to clarify that it should have been recessed, not concluded, because it will continue after this regular council meeting, at which time we will state so. So now I would like to call this council meeting to order. Today, our invocation is to be given by Senior Pastor Pamela Dykehouse from First United Methodist Church. Welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and City Council members. What a wonderful gift it is to have the freedom to pray in public. Thank you for the invitation. Let us pray. O God, ruler of all nations, we pray today for the city of Corpus Christi, its leaders, and its people. We pray that Mayor Guajardo and our city council members may be clear in judgment, humble in spirit, and able to understand the issues that face them. May they think often of the people on whose behalf they act. May they not take for granted the authority which our citizens have entrusted to them. Whether they're dealing with mundane matters or hot-button issues, we pray that you will guide their actions, that they may not be swayed by the heat of the moment or desire for popularity, but seek the common good. Direct them by your spirit of wisdom as they consider budgetary matters, desalination, and zoning, among other things. Thank you for their recognition of Women's Equality Day and for the progress toward its goals. We pray, O God, that you would continue to raise up women to serve in leadership in our community, including here on our council. Thank you, God, for the generous service of the members of this council, for all public officials, our police and fire departments, and for those volunteering their time and will be sworn in today on our city's boards, commissions, and committees. Grant all of these public servants humility and perseverance, as well as a sense of fulfillment and reward in their work. Oh God, keep those leaders and all of us ever mindful of the least among us, people who live in our city's parks, streets, and beaches, the working poor, the old and infirm, those with mental health challenges, children and youth who are vulnerable, people who are jobless, and those with insufficient health. Especially we pray today for all who are ill with COVID-19 and for our healthcare workers. Bring healing and bring an end to this pandemic. We thank you for our beautiful city, its precious resources of land, sea, and air, and its beautifully diverse and capable people. Thank you, God, for this time of growing possibilities in our region, and thank you for the work of our council, and thank you for the opportunities that they have to make a positive difference for us all. With your help, O God, may we continue to work together across all walks of life in this city to live honorably and peaceably and sustainably with one another, not for our own glory, but yours. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so very much. And today, this morning, our Pledge of Allegiance to the United States flag and the Texas flag will be led by a very special person, Andrea Reyes, who is an intern in the mayor's office, and who will also be departing for Stanford University in September. So, Andrea.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please join me in honoring the Texas flag. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. Very good. Ms. Huerta, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Paulette Guajardo.
Present.
Council members Roland Barrera.
Here.
Gil Hernandez.
Here.
Michael Hunter.
Here.
Billy Lerma.
Here.
John Martinez is absent. Ben Molina.
Present.
Mike Pesley. Greg Smith.
Here.
City Manager Peter Zanoni.
Present.
City Attorney Miles Risley. Here. Mayor and Council, a quorum of the Council and the required charter officers are present to conduct the meeting. I wanted to make a brief announcement too, while I have the microphone. In September, the council meeting schedule in September, we are going to be meeting on September the 7th. Now, we don't normally meet that date. It's the day after Labor Day. But because of the way the budget process is working this year. I think it's our tax assessor, Mr. Kieschnick. We're needing to move the schedule up a little bit for council on as far as making decisions on the budget. So we are having a meeting on September the 7th. It's a regular meeting. So it'll be a full meeting.
A full agenda.
Correct,
Okay.
a full agenda. And in addition, I think y'all know we're going to do a council portrait prior to that. So just to make that clear.
And then the council postponed the last meeting of the month to make
Yes,
up
sir.
that
Yeah,
difference,
that's right. Also, so in lieu of that, just to balance out our schedule, the last meeting of the month is canceled. That's right.
Okay.
And I'll send an email about that as well, just to make it, to clarify that for you guys as well.
Great. Okay, thank you for clarifying that. Let's see here, So we will go ahead and have our first, what do we have here? Fish for Life, I think it is. Proclamation. Oh, I'm sorry, for Women's Equality Day. Okay.
If you guys want to just line up there, yeah.
Okay, thank you. How are you, ladies? Hi, Sylvia. How are you? What's that? I need to be. Yeah. Okay. He's a member. Can he join us? Any members, please, come forward. He doesn't have, right. Y'all scoot on over. How are y'all? Good to see you. Here. Well,
Wait a minute, I'd like clarification of this. How is Mr. Barrera a member of the League of Women Voters?
the League of Women. Alex Garcia is he here? He might be here too. Okay, wonderful. So today's proclamation, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, is about Women's Equality Day in honor of the League of Women Voters of Corpus Christi and the 101st anniversary of women's right to vote, which we all know is extremely important and paves the road for me sitting on this dais, as well as so many of us and our mothers and grandmothers. And so today is a very special day, and we're honored to have two of our own, Rebecca Huerta, our wonderful city secretary, and Councilman Barrera, our District 3 councilman. So Carrie Chapman Catt founded the League of Women Voters, a nonpartisan organization 101 years ago in 1920 during the convention of the National American Women Suffrage Association. The convention was held just 6 months before the 19th Amendment to the United States Constitution was ratified, giving women the right to vote after a struggling lasting 7 decades. In 1945, the Corpus Christi League of Women Voters was formed, with Dorothy Green serving as its president. From the beginning, Women Voters has been an activist grassroots organization whose leaders believe that citizens should actively participate in governance, advocacy, and voting. The goals of the League of Women Voters are to empower citizens to shape better communities worldwide, show respect for individuals and the value of diversity, and empower others to understand what makes democracy work. The League of Women Voters acts with trust, integrity, and professionalism, operates in an open and effective manner to educate the public through voters' guides and candidate forums, takes the initiative to engage voters and defend democracy, and acknowledges the League's heritage at every opportunity. Sorry. For 76 years, the League of Women Voters, Corpus Christi area, has built citizen participation in the democratic process by engaging communities, promoting positive solutions to public policy issues through education and advocacy, and studying community and state issues. So now, therefore, pursuant to the powers vested in me as the mayor of the city of Corpus Christi, I do hereby proclaim August the 26th, 2021, Women's Equality Day in honor of the League of Women's Voters of Corpus Christi and the 101st anniversary of women's right to vote in Corpus Christi, Texas. And I call upon all citizens to observe this anniversary with programs and activities that engage voters and defend our democracy. So thank you.
I'm just excited that the reason the Corpus Christi chapter was formed was because at that time, women in Corpus Christi could not serve on a jury, and that was the impetus for our beginning.
And here we are.
We do want to acknowledge our immediate past president, Ann Stewart, is there in the audience. And we do want everyone to note that although our name will never change from the League of Women Voters, we have not only Roland, but several other men who are members of the League and students as well. So we're delighted. If you're 16 or older, you can be a member of the League of Women Voters.
Well, thank you. Please send us that application so that your account. Yes, please do. Thank you. Thank you very much. So here is your proclamation, and we can take a picture now. Yeah. Let me put this down.
All the tall guys here. Good for once. Actually, it feels good not having a 6'5" guy in front of me, man.
Real soft. Y'all scoot on down. How are you?
Good, good. Hey, mask.
What's that?
Where do you get that mask?
I don't. I've got a huge collection. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for being here, Mr. Portis. How are you? Good to see you. Love seeing you. Hi, how are you? Thanks for being here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you? And my friend. God is working.
We care about what you care about. To make that happen.
God is working. That's right. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so next we have a wonderful nonprofit organization that is very dear to me and I'm very close with and working with, and this is Fish for Life. And I want to thank you all in advance for everything you do for this community. And I say community because children are a part of the community, but they do everything for these children, which are apple of all of our eyes. So in 2009, let's raise your hand. There's Chuck Goodwin over there. In 2009, Chuck Goodwin started Corpus Christi Fish for Life, a faith-based nonprofit organization that works with at-risk children and their families. Working with the business, school, and church communities, Fish for Life offers leadership, guidance, and support to cultivate hope and transform the way youth see themselves, their families, and their future. Many inner-city children are living in impoverished conditions with housing, little or no food, and or shortage of clothing. Fish for Life helps meet the basic needs of children and youth so that they can develop intellectually, artistically and socially by supporting young artists through school and citywide art contests. It also establishes and maintains mentorship programs, establishes and cultivates relationships by providing high-quality, supervised professional sporting events and half-day fishing experiences, hence the name, I believe, and identifies and expands services as needed. Fish for Life also helped feed hundreds of impoverished families during COVID-19 with the Ranch Partnership Meat Distribution Project, resulting in 3,500 pounds of meat distributed throughout the city. We commend Fish for Life for their hard work and dedication in mentoring at-risk youth and feeding the needy. Thank you for cultivating hope, making a difference, and literally transforming lives. Thank you for your outstanding work in the community. We couldn't be prouder today to present you with this commendation on behalf of the council and myself, the mayor.
Mayor, we're very grateful for your leadership, and I've given this a lot of thought. Basically, we care about what you care about. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you for what you guys do. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, check. Yes. Yeah.
For the capital, but you do that right now?
Okay, and next, next I'd like to call up anyone that is here to be sworn in. If you'll come down to the well, please. So we will be swearing in our members of the Capital Improvement Advisory Committee this morning. We do have them all. How are you? Good. How are you doing? Good, good, good. Hi. Hi. Yes, nice to see you. It's good to see you, Bella. Hey, come on. So cute. I love that. Thank you. Hi, Rosie. How are you? Good. Hi, Alex. How are you? Great. Thank you. How are you? Good to see you. Yes, yes. Well, thank you. I'm going to thank you all for serving in advance. We appreciate your time. It's an investment in your community, as you know. We thank you very, very much. You were you applied, and so you were all supported to serve on this particular board, which is the, what did I say? Oh gosh, there it is. Thank you. Capital Improvement Advisory Committee. So thank you very much again in advance on behalf of the council and me, the mayor. So if you will please raise your right hand, state your own name after I say the word I, and repeat after me. I know your name. This is like Simon Says. Okay, I do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of a member of the board to which I have been appointed and upon which I am about to enter, and will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state and of this city. So help me God. Congratulations. Now, Rebecca, do they need to go to Norma's office? Yes. They're gonna follow me, Mayor. Okay, so we'll take a quick picture, and then they're gonna do some more swearing in across the hall. Yes, sir. So before we move on, and ironically today, we just celebrated, our equal rights and with the League of Women Voters. We have 3 women standing here, so well positioned between the 4 men. So I want to congratulate you especially because this is a beautiful group of diversity. And so thank you all. Thank you. We really want to recognize that, especially today. It's very special to us. Thank you all very much. Yes. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
She's doing well.
I love it. Good. Tell her. Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for serving. Yes, sir. Can I give this to you? Okay.
Sorry, I almost locked you in.
I know I used to get out through here too. Come on now.
Okay. Okay, so now we're a little past noon. We're going to go ahead and start our public comment. I would also like to let everyone know that we have resumed public comment via telephone, as this council does recognize that we are in the midst of some challenges that may make the communication or people, coming down here an issue or, again, a challenge for them. And we want to make sure that our residents know that we consider your voice very important and very valuable. And therefore, now you're able to call in your public comment if you choose not to come down and do it in person. So with that, we'll go ahead and start. Let's see here. Miles, actually, if you will read your part there.
Citizens are authorized and encouraged to present their views to the council on city-related matters. However, such should be done in a factual, precise presentation, and questions of council or staff are inappropriate. Loud, boisterous, profane, or obscene language or behavior is not allowed.
Thank you, Mr. Risley. And I'd just like to remind everyone, I'll call your name. If you'll come to the podium, state your name, state your address. There is a little timer there under the microphone that will let you know how much time you have left. It's a 3-minute time frame, and we just ask that respectfully you respect that 3 minutes. So with that, we'll start with Eduardo Canales.
Mayor, were you going to do the phone-ins first or in person? I'm sorry, just.
Oh, well, either way, we can do that. Mr. Canales, you know what? Would you have a seat right there? There you go. Let's do the phone-ins. How many
Okay.
phone-ins do we have?
There's 4 individuals who will be phoning in.
Okay, absolutely.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yes. We'll do right after the phone.
The first caller is Paul Chules. Mr. Chules, please state your name and address, or your address.
Yeah, hi, this is Paul Chules. My address is 332 Pebble Beach Drive, Portland, Texas. I'm calling in regards to desalination for the Coastal Bend. My background is over 40 years in desalination, a lot of seawater desalination. I've traveled around the world doing desalination plants. Actually did a very small seawater desalination plant in Corpus Christi in about 1980s, probably 1984. So anyway, I have a lot of experience. I'm an advocate of desalination. As I said, I've been involved in plants around the world. They can be done where everything is considered, from the environment to all the issues that the public may have concerns about, energy consumption, brine disposal, all of these issues that they can all be dealt with and through a lot of I believe a lot of dialogue that could be had. I would encourage people to consider the existing seawater desalination plant that is in Corpus Christi at the Corpus Christi polymer site. I think that's a viable alternative and something that could be considered as to provide some surplus capacity to the city. So that's my 2 cents. Again, I'm an advocate of desalination, whichever way we go.
Does that conclude your comment?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you
Thank you
so
very
much,
much.
Mr. Chules. Yeah.
would do to our delicate bay ecosystem. Even if the intake pump is at the mandated speed, it will suck up millions of microorganisms and eggs, as well as tiny fish, and they would be reduced to sludge in the desalination process. And even if that sludge and waste doesn't get dumped into the bay, the amount created in just an hour would require multiple trucks to move it from the plant to a landfill, releasing exhaust fumes, stressing our subpar roads, and continuing the city's history of environmental racism by worsening the quality of life for those living in and near the industrial zone. And this isn't even touching how much electricity is needed for desal, how the fresh water would only be for industrial use, or how there's also plans to create, if I recall correctly, at least 3 more plants in the same bay, tripling the damage of desal. Our city's biggest economic poles are our tourism and our hospitality. We do not need an ugly, destructive desal plant, especially one that wouldn't meet our future water needs. If the city really cares about bringing in money and providing water, we can do so through more active conservation measures and preventing any further destruction of our water and air via heavy industry. Exxon and Shell aren't going to pay for all the illness they would bring. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Sanchez? Okay, I'm going to put you on the line. Just a minute.
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Ms. Sanchez.
Okay, hello. My name is Love Sanchez. I live at 6130 Woolridge, apartment 1008. I am a founding member of the Indigenous People of the Coastal Bend. I have my bachelor's in communication and my master's in public administration. Today I'm calling in to do a public comment. Recently I was on a Zoom call lobbying for what was called the Extinction Prevention Act of 2021, and this was a bipartisan bill. I'm mentioning this today because it talks a lot about conservation, mitigation of animals and marine life that are in our bay. And so one thing that I know, the point of me calling in is that there is an investment that is going to be happening, and I hope it isn't going to happen, on the desalination plant. I've been in the council meetings before talking about it, and I just want to say that this is a bad investment. There's no permits that are fully approved. A lot of people are challenging it, and I think that it's time to be proactive in the city. Reactive is, of course, as y'all know, it's a response to a situation rather than controlling it, and we can actually control the extinction of our marine life that a lot of tourism come to see. So I believe that this, budget item is a very bad decision, a bad investment, and I just kind of want to say, start listening to the people. I feel that this bad investment can have repercussions, and I really thank y'all for listening to me and having the opportunity to call in. And I hope you'll have a good day.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez.
Okay, Mayor, that concludes the call-ins for today.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ms. Huerta. Mr. Canales?
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. My name is Eduardo Canales, and I reside at 7021 Bevington Drive. I come here as a core member of For the Greater Good and the director of the South Texas Human Rights Center. And also, I'm an appointed member of the Mayor's Task Force on Environmental Concerns. I'm not speaking for the task force. I'm speaking individually as a member of that task force. I'm going to make some comments here. As you can tell, over the last year, there's been overwhelmingly, people have been overwhelmingly against the desalination project that is before the city of Corpus Christi. During public hearings, during permit hearings, it's overwhelming in terms of this. The number of people that have presented themselves. At least 90% of the people have spoken against this project. I'm going to make some comments here on research done by Isabella Liza, one of the members of For the Greater Good. I'm wondering who is listening, who is hearing in terms of everything that's being said over the last year and a half regarding this project. And I think that most of the information that has been come out has people are looking at it in terms of an economic lens or economic development lens, and not looking at in terms of an environmental lens, in terms of the quality of life of the city. And I am taking the position that this project should be removed from the budget. The desal should be removed from the budget. There are concerns in terms of, I'm going to make comments regarding our population growth is slow, at less than 0.5% per year over the next 50 years. So our growth is manageable without the desalination. And this is research done by Dr. Araiza in terms of our concerns and of the greater good. It is the OM Stevens water plant can produce 167 million gallons of water per day. During summer, during peak use, we never use more than 100 MNG. And the reason I say this is because we're being told that this is a project for the community, a project for citizens, for commercial use. But it is in reality, and we should face the reality that this is an industrial for heavy industry. Also, the question of drought is a concern, is a red herring.
Mr. Canales, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but we have the 3 minute.
That's it?
The 3 minute limit, yes, sir.
3 minutes done?
Well, yes, that's what, I mean, we explain it at the beginning of every meeting, but yes, we have a 3 minute limit. That doesn't mean you can't send us the rest of that.
I'm sorry?
That doesn't mean that you can't send us the rest of that via email. You certainly can.
Okay.
Your verbiage or your message there, absolutely. But we do have a 3 minute limit so that we respect everybody else's time as well.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Ms. Shawn Ibarra? Yes, sir.
Hi, City Councilman. I appreciate you guys being here this morning. My name is Shawn Ybarra, and I live on 1938 Ennis Jocelyn Road. I attend TMUCC and I'm part of the Environmental Green Team on campus. I want to propose to you guys the implementation of trees into city infrastructure, making them more of a common thing. Planting trees is not only in the interest of the physical health of our citizens today, but especially those who will call Corpus home every day forward. The proposal of designing city infrastructure to include the planting of more trees may be a new topic on the stage of discussion, though every day it becomes a more pressing topic and the potential solution to the faults within the man-made landscape. Planting native trees would passively bioremediate Corpus air and hold soil in place during the most aggressive coastal weather. Tree roots hold soil in place that would otherwise glide over asphalt and concrete to storm drains. When it comes to heat, trees have evolved green leaves to absorb sunlight and dissipate surface temperatures by shading. In comparison, asphalt and concrete they absorb this heat and hold it through evenings and nights, which contributes to global warming. Having trees in front of buildings would lower demand for AC and heating. During the summer, there would be considerable shade. In winter, the sun can shine through branches and windows to heat a room. Urban areas are comparable to deserts, where not many other organisms aside from humans can survive. Sowing the seeds of fruit-bearing trees would provide food for migratory birds and bats who eat pests like mosquitoes and roaches. Corpus is an industrial powerhouse that is positioned in an environmentally significant area. It is the best time more than ever to plan for a future where industry and the natural world can synthesize the best solutions for Corpus Christi and her people. Low-income families or individuals who have low-income families and individuals would have good incentives for sustainable living. When someone has a good excuse to exercise outside and learn about trades such as gardening, composting, and caring for a community, you are ensuring a healthy food security. You're ensuring good health and food security for some, and providing an educational outlet that cultivates curiosity with hands-on experience, and finally, establishing a sense of community prone to less crime. All stems from establishing.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ibarra. Susie Saldana?
My name is Susie Luna Saldana. My address is 4710 Hackle Drive. I come today before you because I am truly disappointed. You know, I heard on the workshop about taking care of your seniors, taking care of our animals, which are all good things, but I don't see anyone taking a stand protecting our children. I have heard a lot of deal on communication between the county and the city. So I go to both of you to find out why you're not communicating. Because during the campaign, some of you promised that you were going to be working 24/7. And it's easy to do the nice things and take photographs and do things. But the leadership is what's important. The leadership is what's important. And unfortunately, I have proof today that there's no leadership going on. How can we get things done if people that are in power and elected officials do not talk to each other? How can we possibly get things accomplished? Why is it being done? And being done to the most vulnerable of our children. Our children, our future is not being taken care of because we have pettiness that is going on. We have pettiness that is going on, and it needs to stop. You got elected to represent people, all the people, and that includes our children. That includes our children. And when something comes out about them, you all need to stand up and talk about it. I heard from some of you council members, but I didn't hear from all of you. I did not hear from your leaders. That is a shame. And I come before you with this, and this is just the beginning. You need to take a look at this and take some action. Remember, you are a council. The council rules, not one person. The council rules. And that is what you need to do, is rule. This shameful and, I can't even think of the word, has got to stop. This kind of thing has got to stop because our lives with COVID-19, mass mandates and everything is in your hands, and you're not doing your job.
Sylvia Campos.
Sylvia Campos, 4410 Fur, District 2. Wow. Thank you. Thank you, Susie. You get lost with only 3 minutes, but I'm going to do the best I can. I'm here again to oppose this desalination projects, because it's not just one. And seriously, we obviously have very, very clever people. Y'all are very, very clever. No one can deny that. But what I feel is lacking right now is some wisdom. You may have the legal right to do this, but I don't think y'all have the moral right to oversee, to bypass the people. We've been asking for over a year to have a seat at the table, to have our concerns discussed, not just heard, but actually discussed. This format does not work for the people. You cannot answer back, and I realize that. But I know that y'all are good people. You live here. I think your families are going to continue to live here. And that's where I come from. You know, I've lived here all my life. My grandson is going to, you know, be celebrating his birthday tomorrow. He's going to be 15, and I want him to live here. I love our area, and I know some of you, you know, look for them to leave, but I don't. So I just want to make sure that y'all did receive, and I did give a copy to Sarah, to just make sure that you did receive the email from Blanca Parkinson, because I know, I mean, we all get a lot of emails, but she made some valid points, and I'm hoping that the wise people sitting here will bring those points up. It's not too late. One of the main things that she did say was the 8/31 deadline for the $222 million. To please remove it off the budget for now. Let the people vote. That's all we're asking. And again, especially today, Equality Day, women, I'm so honored to be here with you, but we do need you out here making public comment, running for office, and just being you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gumpels. Ellen Hogue? Ellen? Okay. Michael Kennedy?
My name is Michael Kennedy. I live at 202 Reef Avenue, apartment 302, Corpus Christi, Texas, on North Beach. I'm actually here today to congratulate Gordon Awesome, who is going to build 14 cottages right behind Beach Place. Some of us were here to express concerns against the project, but Mr. Austin met with many stakeholders at Beach Place to discuss all our concerns. One concern, of course, is how do you build 14 cottages on 3 lots that normally you'd put a house on each lot? Number 2 is parking issue. He does have parking spaces, but in the busy time of the year, people already park on the side of the road across the street from where he's building in the summertime, and the streets on North Beach aren't designed for people to park on the side of the road. The streets aren't wide enough. Another issue was flooding. Mr. Awesome is going to raise his lot 3.5 feet, which will cause flooding on the parking lot at North Beach, at Beach Place condominiums that's been there since 1984. I've been an owner there for 35 years. So we discussed these concerns, and he promised that he would work with us on the concerns for parking. There is an alley between us and his property, maybe to use an alley for parking. Also security. He did say he did not want to be in the hotel business. So that means that these cottages will be rented long-term, and in 6 years he plans to sell those cottages, which means he's going to maintain that property. So we were greatly impressed that he took the time to meet with the stakeholders at Beach Place, and we are in favor of the development on North Beach. But anytime development concerns a stakeholder should have the right to express their opinion. I've been on the board of the North Beach Community Association for many, many years, and I continue to serve on the board, and we are indeed in favor of development on North Beach. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Melissa Zamora.
Hello, my name is Melissa Zamora. I live at 3917 Bronner Parkway in District 2. So water scarcity. If we are in a situation where we're going to have droughts, why is most of the water being put towards industry for oil and gas and plastic production? Burning, contributing to the global climate crisis. If anything, if we are in a drought situation, we need to be conserving and preserving as much fresh water as we can for residents. Number one. If we are, yeah, a lot of these petrochemical and plastic industries are foreign. They're multi-million-dollar industries. Where is that money going? I don't think we are getting our fair share of that, as well as a number of other residents of this area. The fact that they're in their own district, industrial district, bypassing the need to pay their fair share of taxes is an issue. We don't need any more harmful industries, period. We need to be investing in more green infrastructure, green energy, bioplastics. The technology and the information is out there. Other countries are getting on board. Why aren't we? And I know this is Texas, and I'm from here, and I'm from the Corpus Christi area, and I feel differently. I feel that this is an issue that will stick with us for future generations, not only in our city, in our state, in our country, and planet as a whole. We need to be actively doing something to curb that change, to do our part in giving back. I know the port just got, this past year, it's #1 in oil exports of the country, which is great, I guess, to go towards paying our debt or whatever else we need that money for. But what are we giving back to the environment, to the place that we're taking all of those vital resources, whether it be oil, water, gas? Like, those things don't have their own natural function on this earth. This is just coming from my background in environmental science and background in indigenous heritage and how we see resources, and not just as something as a commodity, but as a important role, vital role in this world. Another concern with the desalination that's being portrayed to the public as being for residents, like others have mentioned, but this is for future industry that's not even here yet. That's scary. We don't want that industry to come here. A lot of the residents don't. It doesn't provide as much jobs as being portrayed. We can see that in our economic information on your websites, on the Economic Development Corporation sites. I could go on, but I guess I'll save it for the next public comment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zamora. Ricardo Elizondo?
Mayor, council people, councilmen, excuse me. I'd like to thank you for serving. I know it's a thankless job, I'm sure.
It is.
And I'd like to commend the ordinance you passed on the yard parking. It's a long time coming. I've seen people, what I say is disrespect their property. And yeah, I'm sure in the long term, it will improve our neighborhoods. I'd like to address a couple of issues that I've had some concerns about in the last, going back 5 years, one of them, but that I will address second. About a year ago, I talked to Officer Sergeant George Alvarez, and he was very nice to come by my house, which he did twice a day, because he was a neighborhood policeman. At least that's what I perceived him to be. And he said his position had been eliminated in this neighborhood, and he was going to go work in the Molina area. A very honorable man, very caring person. Since then, I've seen the decoration. My neighborhood has gone down. I have a picture. Can you pass those around, please, sir? Thank you. I came last week, and unfortunately, I didn't sign up to talk. But Sunday, I had a revisit from a person who comes by my house and tried to buy my property. I own the north side of Coleman from Staples to Taranco, except for the 2 corner pieces. I own 17 houses there. When I first moved to the neighborhood, you couldn't walk down the street. That's 22 years ago. I live at 723 5th Street in the center of the property, so I am not an absentee landowner. That first picture of those houses is 707. The second picture, you see the gentleman who has visited my property at least 4 times. Since the police patrol ceased, the activity has increased. Look, if you look at that picture carefully, that's a very scary man. At 9:30 in the morning Sunday, this past Sunday, he tried to steal my son's bicycle, who happens to live in one of my houses. This morning at 6:30, he showed up again. You might ask, why didn't you call the police? Last time I called the police on a domestic disturbance, it took over an hour. I talked to Officer Cunningham. He did not seem as helpful as my previous policeman. But that's another issue. So I would ask that you reinstate the neighborhood patrol, if you could. The second issue that I would like to address,
Oh.
I'll bring it for next week, it'll still be there.
Please do, Mr. Elizondo. And I would like you to visit with Chief Markle, please, if you have a moment regarding this concern. Yes, sir.
Thank you for serving too.
Absolutely. Thank you. Barbara Welder. Yeah, I think you can come down this way, or you can't? Peter, it's not working? I don't know.
Madam Mayor and City Council and City Manager, thank you for this time. I'm here to affirm Mr. Kennedy's action in supporting the ordinance development on North Beach on the 6400 block of Gulf Breeze. Obviously, we have been through a process prescribed by the city, directed by the city, and that process works. If you've read Henry David Thoreau, you know that conscientious objection is really the object of and part of democracy. So that is what we did. The numbers shouldn't matter. There was a clear message that there was a problem, but it was solved. So I applaud all areas of the city for helping us with this. Our concerns were parking, design, and elevation. Those are being mitigated as we speak. There were 22 people who objected. I think there were really 24. Our problem was sort of lack of communication, which happens. Mr. Lerma was on task with us. We called him frequently. He gave us good advice. So we want to thank him as well. So to all points of everything said, we're really happy. I think there were some misconceptions about North Beach and the process from the council, as well as maybe some facts that were not as adequate as we would like. But I don't have time to answer those because I don't really understand the point. And I'd like to move on to a possible subject, and I mentioned this to Mr. Zanoni. We are having a Meet Your Councilman series, and we would like to make sure that all of our councilmen are included. So you will receive an invitation at some point to come out and speak to us. But in terms of Mr. Oswald, we couldn't ask for a better developer. We have 3 developers in our MBCA, and we're grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Welder. And our last, or no, not our last, Josh Richline.
Good afternoon, Josh Richline, 1806 3rd Street. I come today not as the Vice Commodore of the Yacht Club and not as the Secretary of the DMD, but those are front of mind when talking about this. Here to talk about a budget line item that you guys went over last week during the budget talks. It was under the Health Department as a wellness project, and it's something the city staff, Health Department has been working on actually for quite a while. Strangely, as it may seem, it actually involved a community sailing program. It received a very lukewarm, and in some cases way less than lukewarm welcome, even after being presented with such enthusiasm by the kind lady from the Health Department. But it occurs to me that most of that lukewarmness probably came from just not getting the full story behind it. So my purpose here today is not to go over the full project, but just to ask you to hear it out. You didn't get to hear about the underserved populations and inner city youth. They're a large focus of the program. You didn't get to hear about the health benefits of physical, muscular strength and endurance, cardiovascular fitness, mental wellness, lower stress levels that all come with sailing programs. You also didn't get to hear about team building and camaraderie, love of outdoors, respect for the bay, respect for the water, respect from the wind and elements, but also learning to work in harmony and not fight the wind, but to use the wind. We're not just talking about a program that affects youth. We're talking about a program that, and a sport that you can do at any age of life. I love baseball, but at some point my knees can no longer take running the bases. I know 80-year-old men who, and women, hell, I don't know any 80-year-old women that have done it, but 80-year-old people that have still sailing, and even some still winning world championships. Find me another sport that's a lifelong sport that utilizes a natural resource that's so plentiful here. And I love swimming, and I agree that everyone needs to learn to swim, but we have pools, we have baseball diamonds, we have football fields and soccer fields. What we don't have is sailing. We don't have a community sailing center. We don't have access for the average person to get in the water. It just doesn't exist. Our largest natural resource is right in front of us. So all I'm here to say is don't strike down a line item out of the budget because you haven't heard the whole story on it. Give it a chance to be heard. If you want to know more about it, I am here. I can answer many questions on it. Hopefully I piqued your interest and you guys would like to hear more, but I thank you for your time and your service.
Thank you, Mr. Richline. Jim Klein.
Good afternoon. My name is Jim Klein. I live at 3501 Monterey Street here in Corpus Christi. And I come here today to again reiterate, I guess, that I remain opposed to desalination funding in this year's budget, city budget, until we are sure that multiple desal plants will not harm plant and animal life in Corpus Christi Bay. But I want to draw your attention to a bookkeeping matter, I guess what I think is the bookkeeping matter, that has to do with this year's funding level for desalination set at $15.84 million. I think in one of the previous budget workshops, there was discussion about perhaps that being corrected to $11.4 million. I believe $4 million of that has already been spent in previous years from the loan money. So I believe the correct funding should actually be $7.4 million, but I would ask you to consider that as well. And kind of related to spending issues on desalination, people that I've talked to from CC Polymers indicate that desalination is only viable if you can produce water at a rate of or cost of $2 per acre foot. And the project being proposed in Corpus Christi is going to produce water at a cost of $4 per acre foot. So I ask you to reconsider that based on that information as well. And I guess you will take this up at today's meeting, city council meeting, in lieu of the August 31st meeting being set aside in order so that the second reading of the budget could take place then on September 7th. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Klein. And that will conclude our public comment period, and we will move on to Section G, our city manager's comments and update on city operations.
Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor and Council. And we have 4 items today. I have presenters for 3 of them. We're going to begin with Annette Rodriguez, our Public Health Director. And she should be coming in from the back, I think, here. Annette's going to give us an update on COVID-19. We know that the pandemic is still in its spiked stage. Last week we had about 600, maybe on average, new cases every day. One new thing, though, that has happened yesterday is that the FDA did fully approve the Pfizer vaccine. And that does have some impacts on our country, and it may have impacts on our public health department or public health agency. And so we have begun to analyze that. What do we have to do differently as a public health agency? And it also has an impact to the city. We have some more options now as an employer. and we're looking at that as well with our city attorney. So Annette is going to talk about the pandemic, the spiking of cases, and also begin to give us some initial thoughts on the full approval of the Pfizer vaccine.
Thank you. Annette Rodriguez, Health Director. So I am going to give the COVID-19 update statistics. Next slide, please. I think this first slide is very important, and I think it tells the story. So if you look at August of 2021, we're at 9,017 COVID cases. So you can easily see by this graph that we surpassed the winter COVID cases, that we had the peak in January, and we're about to surpass the summer peak that we had July of 2020. Next slide. This just shows the progression from week to week, but I think it's really important as well, because if you look at July 4th, July 11th, July 18th, the week of those, you'll see the July 4th week was 199 COVID cases. July 11th was 404 COVID cases. July 18th was 815. Now, if you'll move over to August 1st, you'll see what happened. 2,180 COVID positives. August 8th, 2,700 COVID positives. And August 15th, 3,500 COVID positives here in Nueces County. Next slide. We've added this slide here because I think it really tells you also what's happening with our younger population. So we've done it by age, and we've showed the pie. 12% are from ages a few months to 9 years of age. And then if you look at the orange colored slice of pie, that's about 15%. That's ages 10 to 19. And then the gray at 20% is ages 20 to 29. So if you look at from ages 0 to 29, that almost encompasses 50% of the whole pie. So a lot more kids are getting COVID-19 currently, but you can see that also 30 to 39 has a very large slice of the pie at 17%, and then the other colors as well. But that's important because it shows you that our children are getting COVID more with this Delta variant. Next slide. These are the hospitalizations, and they continue to rise. You can see very easily. The last one that you see on here was the 23rd, and you see 428 hospitalizations, and you see 104 ICU. Just so that everyone knows, in July of 2020, the highest hospitalizations when we had our highest peak last summer was 430 hospitalizations, and we're at 428. And I'm already looking at the numbers for tomorrow, and they're at 442, so we're surpassed the last summer peak. Next slide. These are the vaccine breakthrough cases in Nueces County. These are important because these are individuals that have been fully vaccinated with both doses of Pfizer or both doses of Moderna or the one dose of J&J, and still they have gotten infected. 574 individuals in Nueces County that have vaccine breakthrough cases. 65 of those individuals of the 574 were hospitalized. 16 deaths from breakthrough cases, and the different vaccines that they received, 276, 196, 101, and one unknown. And I know Councilman Hernandez had asked me for the percentages, which makes a lot more sense, but that would mean that I'd have to know the denominator, and I do not have the denominator data, which tells me how many total Moderna cases have been given in Nueces County. I have the denominator data for Nueces County, what we've given in Moderna, in Pfizer and J&J, but I don't have for every provider in Nueces County that has given vaccines. So as soon as I have that information, I will share the percentages. Next slide. So the CDC booster information is basically, we're hearing the booster is about to be approved. The booster dose just refers to another dose of vaccine that's given to someone who built enough protection initially after being vaccinated fully, so having the two vaccines. But then that protection decreased over time. So this is called waning or weakening of their immunity. The recommendation is going to be that after 8 months after getting that second dose or that final dose for J&J, that they will receive a booster vaccine. This should begin September 20th of 2021, but it still needs to be fully vetted and approved. It's going to be specifically for Pfizer and Moderna. J&J will be at a future date. So remember, J&J was not started that vaccine until months after Pfizer and Moderna, the mRNA came out. So we're waiting to hear on the J&J. As soon as we know more information, we'll let you know. And we're also waiting to get full approval to give that booster. As soon as we're ready, we will start administering boosters. We're working with our Luminaire software system so that they can actually alert the individuals that were vaccinated by the health department that it's their month, and it's been 8 months since their last vaccine. Now they can come back in and get their booster. We do not want people to get boosters early. People are going to try to get their booster earlier than the 8 months. You don't want to do that because you're actually wasting product. The vaccine is effective for at least 8 months, and so we want you to wait and get the booster at the right time. Next slide. So this is the FDA that City Manager Zanoni mentioned. The FDA gave final approval yesterday, full approval for the Pfizer vaccine. So that was great news, but what does it really mean? So for one, we had a lot of people tell us that they were not going to get vaccinated until FDA gave full approval. So for those people that said that, full approval is here, it's now time to get vaccinated. And what it really means is the vaccine really effective? Is it safe? We just want a lot of data to make sure before we get fully vaccinated. And that is what the full approval tells you, that they have looked at so many different vaccines, and they can tell that this vaccine is very effective. And so at that point, they're able to give full approval. And so that's where we are now. The other question that a lot of people are asking is, so now can we mandate it in the school? So the FDA does not mandate vaccines. They only give approval for the manufacturers, saying that this is a good vaccine. They've done that. But the ACIP, the Advisory Council on Immunization Practices, that we've all heard so much about, that actually as a council to CDC, they are the ones that can actually say, yes, now we're going to add the COVID vaccine into the childhood vaccine requirements for back to school. And so we believe that that will happen probably for the next school year, since the school year has already started, and that it'll be one of the requirements. The vaccine approval currently is only for those 16 years of age and older. It is not for those 12 to 15 at this time. Remember, that vaccine came later. It wasn't initially during the 16 and older age group. So we believe at a later time that also will be FDA approved. So having the FDA approval can move a lot of these initiatives. I think employers are wanting to know, can we mandate vaccines? And so yes, the private employers are able to do a lot of these things. Some of the universities are already doing that, but that's what the FDA approval helps us to accomplish. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions.
Councilman Pusley.
Thank you, Mayor. Annette, could we go back to your beginning graph that shows, okay, yeah, this is our weekly cases from June of this year. Is that correct? Or actually, back one more. I think it should, yeah, that one. Okay. So this shows total number of people who have tested positive for COVID, but not necessarily hospitalized.
That's correct. These are just COVID positive cases in Nueces County.
So if we go forward now to the graph that shows the ones, next, go ahead. Go ahead. That one, that shows the number of cases that ended up in the hospital or in ICU.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, good. It'd be good to overlay those two just for the sake of seeing it. Can you tell us now, Annette, because I get a lot of questions. I've posted a lot of information the last few days on my Facebook page, and I've tried to field as many questions as I could, but what information do you have on the variant, the Delta variant or whatever they call it? Have y'all tested for that? Are you seeing a lot of positives for that, or do you know yet?
You know, what we do know, and that's a great question, thank you for that. We have over 93% of the cases that we actually are testing that are positive. We believe those to all be due to the Delta variant, because that's what the state of Texas shows, as well as the United States.
Okay.
We have only sent out, I believe, 11, or maybe a little bit more since the 11 specimens to get genosequenced for Delta, and we have received 8 back that showed that they were Delta variant, but the other ones have not come back yet. And we were initially told between 2 and 4 weeks. It's been over that time, but we believe because of the number of specimens that have been sent to DSHS as well as Texas Tech, that they're just still working on these at this point. So while we don't have, you know, out of the 200 cases yesterday, we don't have definitive knowledge that 93% of those were Delta. We do believe that it follows the rest of the state of Texas, and that is the case.
Okay, so right now, looking at that graph that shows the total number of cases that we have now cumulative, you believe, based on your statistical analysis, that 93% of those are a result of the variant?
Absolutely.
Okay. And so the other question I get is, okay, if this is a variant, then why should I get vaccinated? Does the vaccine that was created originally help with this variant?
That's a great question as well, but we also know that by looking at all of these individuals that were vaccinated and looking at all of these individuals that are getting sick with COVID-19, we know that the people that are vaccinated are less likely to end up hospitalized. So we know, and they're also less likely to get COVID. And so we know that the vaccine currently works against this Delta variant. Okay. So that's why it's important for them to get vaccinated.
Okay. And what you're telling us today is if you're healthy, you're not positive, you should wait until 8 months after you have had your second shot before you get the third shot.
Right.
Which is not a booster, it's just another shot, correct?
So, okay, so the third shot is for only those that are immunocompromised. The booster is for those individuals, it's just a third shot. So it shows that the vaccine has waned over time, and so that's again by them looking at all the statistics and seeing the vaccine breakthrough cases they're starting to see is increasing. And so they know that there's some waning of the vaccine around 8 months after their second vaccine, and that's at the time that they are going to approve or planning to approve for the booster, which is a third vaccine to boost that immunity.
You just confused me by what you said originally. And it's easy to confuse me, so don't take that personal. If, for example, I've had both my vaccinations, I'm not positive for COVID, should I get a third shot, and if so, when?
Yes, as soon as it's approved, we believe it's going to be approved for to begin the week of September 20th. Once it's approved, yes, you should get your third booster, or third shot, your booster vaccine, but yours would be 8 months after your second vaccine.
Okay.
So it's not necessarily going to be September 20th. September 20th is really, we started here with the hospital staff, so that's about the time they're going to need boosters. And then, you know, later we did health department staff, so then they're going to need boosters. And then later we opened it up to more individuals, you know, so different tiers that we opened it up to. So it's going to be very similar to that to determine when it's time for you to get your booster. But it's 8 months after your second vaccine is going to be the time.
Now, if you're immunocompromised, you should get it when?
So that's already been approved, so they should already be getting it.
So you can get it anytime, you don't have to wait. Even if you've had your 2 shots, you can go ahead and get another one.
Right, at least 28 days after your second shot, you can get your third shot.
Okay. In closing, just 2 things real quickly. One, can we have a copy of your presentation today? I'd love to have that just so I can review it. Secondly, thank you for all the information you've been providing for all of us and for me personally. I know I've reached out to you a couple of times, and we certainly appreciate that. And then I just want to say, and I've taken a lot of hits for this. I've lost some friends over this. But I'm encouraging everybody to get vaccinated. It's time for us to get our head out of the sand. And you know, I remember when I started first grade in elementary school, and that's a long time ago. I realize that. Most of you weren't born. But the first day of school, they lined us all up to check to make sure we had a smallpox vaccination scar. And because I don't scar easily, I got to take the smallpox vaccination twice. So, it didn't kill any of us. It was a good thing. And so we need, as leaders in this community, to encourage people to get vaccinated. For God's sakes, we don't want to see another economic shutdown of our city, of our state, and of our country. There will be dire consequences if that happens again. So please, if you're listening to my voice and you're not vaccinated, please do so unless your doctor tells you you shouldn't. And you should always listen to your doctors and what they say. But again, thank you very much for the information. If you could provide us a copy of that, I would sincerely appreciate it.
Definitely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Annette, for clarity, so the words booster and third vaccination, same?
No, different. So third vaccine is for those that are immune compromised. So the vaccine really never probably worked for them. The first and second, it didn't give them any antibodies. So they need that third dose. For booster, it's for everybody else. The vaccines worked fine, but now it's starting to weaken or wane, and so now they're going to need a booster starting the week of September 20th.
But is the composition of those two the same?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, that's what I
yes.
wanted to know.
Oh, yes,
So the
same
composition of a booster shot and a third vaccine is exactly the same. They're just going to work differently within the person based on the immunocompromised or 8 months out and the waning of the effective of the vaccine.
That's correct.
Got it. Okay, great.
Yes, it's the exact same amount, the 0.3 mLs for the
Same
Pfizer.
thing.
Same exact vaccine that you got for the first dose and the second dose.
Right.
Is the same for the third or the booster. It's just
Right.
different timeframes.
Got it. Okay, wonderful. We have a few more questions. Councilman Hernandez.
Thank you, Mayor. In light of the approval from the FDA, I wanted to get an idea of what the effectiveness of all the different types of vaccinations are against the Delta variant. Do you have like the percentages for Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and Pfizer versus the Delta?
Yes, I do, but let me revisit that before I say it today, but I do have that information, and I'll bring it back to you.
Okay. You know, the way I'm seeing this is that this is looking more and more like the flu a virus changes, right? You get a different type of vaccination for the flu shot annually. This seems like it's going in that direction. Is this something that you foresee as a new, different vaccination every year in conjunction with the variants that are coming out?
Yes, we believe that, that COVID will be endemic and that we will continue to have to live with it and that it will change and we will have to, make sure that we have the correct vaccines that are needed, for the following year. It could be longer too. The booster could last more than a year, and so maybe it's every other year before they need to get another vaccine. All of that is still being studied. Again, the COVID virus is still very new, even though it's almost been 2 years. It's very new, and the more people that don't get vaccinated, I think we all know, the more able the virus is to mutate.
Well, I mean, if you're looking at this from a perspective, all viruses mutate, right? I mean, the flu is different from it was 20 years ago or from it was last year.
Right.
I see this as continuing, but if it goes down the same route, it'll eventually be like the flu shot, where some people get it, some people don't. It'll go into that kind of routine.
Right.
So looking at the percentage of people getting flu shots every year, what is that percentage?
It's very low, to be honest with you, but we've had flu, we've lived with flu for so many years, and so more people have a response, against flu, so they have some protection against it. But yes, the number of people that received flu vaccines probably was the highest last year. Again, I can give you that information, but that was only because we were really pushing to get flu vaccines along with the COVID vaccine, so that way they could differentiate, before if they got sick and had to go to the hospital. So, but the number of people that get flu vaccines is very low from year to year currently.
Okay, so I'll just look for the information on the effectiveness versus the Delta variant. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Smith.
Thank you, Annette. You showed us the information, how we're getting a lot more positives amongst doctors on there. I have seen within the school district, so are the districts consistent in the outbreak, or is there a range with it? Are we publishing that data?
We have not been publishing it. We are trying to keep up with it. It's a lot of kids that are getting COVID positive in the schools, so we definitely can look at putting that. DSHS has it published on their website, but they're very far behind, to be honest with you.
Okay, so it's dated information and.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, and thanks for all you're doing.
Thank you.
Annette, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Barrera.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess, Annette, the most common question that I get asked all the time when we see the data on positive cases is how many were vaccinated. And I don't know if we can provide that information on a regular basis. The mayor on her Facebook posted an awesome graphic of, I think, in the past, I think it was July 1 to August 15th, there might have been 450 positive breakthrough cases, and there was like 8,900 cases of the individuals that were non-vaccinated. And that's just a useful tool for us to spread out to the community the importance of getting vaccinated. And I know I'm sure she got a lot of traction on it, and I've gotten some as well as those that, I always say I hate to make more work for you, but if you have somebody there that could get us that information, because that's the most common questions. If there's a death, were they vaccinated and did they suffer from comorbidities? And that helps us to continue to tell the story and encourage people to get vaccinated, and then to give individuals peace of mind that they have been vaccinated and they are using their masks, and that's going to act as a deterrent. So if we could get that information, and Peter, if, it used to be, we used to have, and maybe I'm missing it, but all that information on the front page of our webpage, of our website, where we were able to track that data. I've got a conference that I've got to go to in Denver, and I'm most likely going to call it off simply because everybody from the conference is going over there, and you don't know where they're coming from. But I was looking up the data there, and it was easily accessible. So if we could, get that information back on the website, so that way, individuals that have been vaccinated have peace of mind as well, that if they're coming to visit, that they could see where, I'm sure right now it'd be difficult, but that way individuals, we have that data out there, so that way we continue to tell the story of the importance of getting vaccinated. It is working. I know a couple of the breakthrough cases, and they've all recovered. And I know it's just anecdotal in nature, but in each case, one of them was a senior in their late 70s and said the vaccine is working. So if we could somehow get some more data to have that accessible so we can provide it.
Yes, thank you for that. As the number of cases rise, as you mentioned, it is much more difficult to be able to get that information, especially in real time. You might be able to get it from a week back. So because what's happening is all of the hospital information, we receive that from the infection control practitioners. So every day they have a conversation with us, except on Saturday and Sunday, basically telling us this many people are hospitalized due to COVID, this many were vaccinated, this many weren't. If they know know the information. As they get busier and busier, many times they tell us, we just don't know today. I mean, how many were vaccinated and unvaccinated. But what we can tell you is that we had 215 hospitalized. And so they give us partial information. We did this last, the summer peak. The same thing happened. We weren't able to get the zip codes because they weren't able to provide it. And so we basically said at this point in the emergency, we're not able to report that right now. We will be able to report that all later, but we are trying our best to get the information. What we do know is the majority of the people that are hospitalized are unvaccinated. We can clearly see that, but to keep up with that every day, just some days are just much more difficult because of the predicament we're in. And then the same thing, except we're adding something. When you come through the drive-through and get swabbed, we know at the end of the day or the next day, we know if you're positive or you're not positive. And so you would think, well, then do you know if they're vaccinated or unvaccinated? So the answer is currently no, but what we've done is we've added to our form to ask the question, are you vaccinated or unvaccinated? So we're kind of getting, word of mouth, and we're trusting that they're giving us the true information, and we're going to start reporting that out as well. But what we've seen, and just starting this recently, is the majority of them are unvaccinated as well. But we wouldn't know that, even if we had a positive test, we wouldn't know vaccinated versus unvaccinated until after we contact trace them. And we're getting behind on the contact tracing because of the number of cases we're having every day, 600 plus COVID positives. It takes a lot of time to call all those positives to talk to them about the contact tracing that needs to occur.
Okay, well, once again, as I had indicated in the last meeting, if you need more resources, come,
Yes.
let us know, and we'll chew on the professional that's right there to your right. So, one person over.
Okay, Annette, Mr. Presley? Yes.
Yeah, in light of Councilman Brer, I had jotted some notes down here, and I apologize. So the other question, Annette, and I know you don't have much to do these days, so I'm sure you have a lot of time to do this. But if you could, when you have a chance, along with this information, is give us the total number of deaths in Nueces County since January of 2020 up to today. If you have the information, the ages of those who died, and if they have, pre-existing health conditions. I got into a philosophical discussion with a very smart guy here the day before yesterday, and in fact, he's a physician. And he said, here's the deal. The number of people who are positive for COVID, who may never show bad symptoms, who may never go to the doctor, who may never get tested, but they still have it, that sort of drives down the percentage of people that are sick compared to the percentage of people who are dying from this disease. But he said that doesn't take away from the fact that this disease is overwhelming our hospitals. Mm-hmm. And that's true. A good friend of mine last night, and many people here know, had to put her mother in one hospital and her father in another hospital because they both have COVID. Mm-hmm. And so those are tragic kind of things, and they had refused to be vaccinated, and now they're very ill. So this is important, but people are really, as Councilman Brer said, are really wanting the information, and we're trying to provide that to them. But at the end of the day, all that is for statistical analysis, but the bottom line is get vaccinated.
That's correct.
Don't become the worst part of these statistics.
And I would say that, Councilman Presley, you are absolutely right. It is what we advocate for, to encourage people who want to get vaccinated to get vaccinated. There are a lot of people on the line. Chief Rocha spoke with you this morning quickly. I think I don't want to misspeak, we haven't vaccinated 300, right, on the in-home program. And every single one of those, Councilman Pusley, is just, it's golden, because that's one more person that could go and, spread it to hundreds of people.
Well, if you think about the fact that if a family loses a family member to this, how many people does that impact?
Yeah,
If they lose the father,
yeah.
the
Multiple.
breadwinner of the family, or, the mother, whatever the case may be, it's a tragic event. And Chief, I did want to pass along, the young lady said the paramedics that came out and picked her parents up
Yeah.
were very kind and very helpful, and she wanted me to let you know how much she appreciated what they did.
And I got a similar comment about, it was another story about the hospital, having to go and all of that. And he made it was his mother, very nice comment about the paramedics, and how wonderful and courteous they were. But before you do that, I just want to make certain, Annette, our primary focus is to vaccinate, correct?
That is correct.
To encourage people to get vaccinated. I just want to make that.
Yes, absolutely. We know that that can actually, put an end to this pandemic if everybody were vaccinated. We're just not there, but we need to continue to encourage people to get vaccinated.
Right.
So use the other public health strategies like using a mask, social distancing. So especially for those individuals that still choose not to get vaccinated, that's going to be very important for their safety as well.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor, Councilman Pusley. Certainly do appreciate the kind words. In tragedy, the best of us comes out, right? And so your firefighters are out there doing the best that they can. I will tell you that we have been concentrating on our delivery of service, on our regular calls for service, but also the in-home vaccinations that we've been doing, as well as some of the booster shots we've been giving. In the last week, we've gotten approximately 300 people vaccinated, those who want the in-home vaccination, as well as the booster shot for those SOS partners that we have.
Right.
I want to thank Annette and her staff with the health department. They have been wonderful in terms of giving us the needed vaccines that we need. And so
Right.
I think
Thank
it's just
you,
a great partnership of everybody trying to work together, but making sure that people who want to get vaccinated can get vaccinated, and we're trying to eliminate all of those barriers.
So for clarity, you said that 300 consists of SOS third vaccinations as well as in-home?
Some of those have been, the bulk have been now the in-home that we've been getting calls for. So the bulk have been the in-home, but we've also been able to vaccinate some of the SOS clients who are now asking for the third vaccine. Those who meet the standard that Annette and I have talked about immunocompromised people. So we're very strict as to what we've been able to do. We haven't been giving everybody the third shot that calls for the third shot unless they meet the criteria that Annette has set forward.
Okay, and Peter, were we going to proactively call our 3,200 seniors?
What
Go ahead.
What we've been doing, and Peter is absolutely right, we've been utilizing reverse alert
Right.
in order to contact those. And so the ones that get back a hold of us, we've been able to contact. And if we don't get a call back from the reverse alert, then we're making a proactive call
Great.
to those that haven't been able to contact us through reverse alert.
Okay.
Right, we can get a lot more people reached out to with that reverse alert system,
Wonderful.
so it's been pretty effective. But as
Yeah.
the chief said, the backup plan is just direct call them.
Great. Thank you so much. And Annette, thank you so much for working together on, I know you have like 100 programs around you.
Thank you, Chief. Yes.
Yes. And we do have, Councilman Hernandez, I think, has a question or comment.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. It's something that reminded me here. The vaccines that we have that we're providing at the mall, what types of vaccines do we have there?
We currently just have Moderna and Pfizer.
We're not going to get Johnson & Johnson anymore?
Johnson & Johnson, they ran out of supplies, but starting September 1st, we can order again from the Department of State Health Services, so we will be ordering more Johnson & Johnson at that time.
Okay. And that kind of goes in line with my question on the effectiveness versus the Delta variant. You want to get the one that's most effective, I guess. Maybe you order more of those.
Right.
And lastly, on the reports that we get on a daily basis, there are some that say that are confirmed and some that say are probable. How do we go back and confirm those that are probable, or they just remain probable?
They just remain probable. So a probable is a positive antigen, and a positive antigen in itself is a COVID-19 positive. So the probables and the confirmed, and I know it's confusing. It's just terminology that's used. They use the same terminology kind of during H1N1. So the confirmed is the gold standard, the positive PCR. It's confirmed. You know, there's not a lot of questions there. The probable is an antigen positive, and so which shows that they still have active COVID-19 virus, and so that's a probable. And then the suspects are the ones that have antibodies. And so these are individuals that if you just got your vaccine and you went to check your antibodies because you're getting elective surgery, you would come out as an antibody positive. So those they're really not part of our count.
Okay, but they're all reported as positives, right?
They're all reported as
So
positives, right?
We don't break them out, but we don't go back and confirm any, the probables or the suspect?
We don't go back to confirm.
Yeah.
The probables are the suspects. So they're all counted as positive COVID-19. So, but we know that the suspects, that they're antibody positive. So when we talk to them, like we wouldn't be referring them for infusions. So.
Okay. So basically, they're all showing some symptoms of some reaction to what would normally be a COVID case, right?
Yes, but not
They're
necessarily.
sick, they're fever, temperature,
Except for the antibody positives. Those ones, they might just be going in because they need to have some kind of a surgical procedure. And
So they may be positive but not sick.
That's correct. So they really wouldn't be what we consider a COVID positive, but they still count, according to the CDC definition, as a suspect. And so we put them down there, but our positives to us are the confirmed and the probables.
Okay, so I just want to kind of confirm to what Councilman Pusley was saying, as somebody being positive or have the antibodies or whatever it may be, and we count them, but they're not really sick. But are they contagious?
No, they're not contagious. They just have antibodies because they were vaccinated. So, and those are the few numbers. You're going to see 3 of those suspect cases out of the 600. You're going to see 5 of those. So, but it's still part of the definition, so it's still
Okay, so
counted.
I guess what I'm getting at here is we're putting out a number of cases that, we're saying are COVID positive, but they may not be sick.
That's correct. So.
Right. Okay, I think we maybe need to break that out to say, they're positive but not sick or something like that. Because I think by putting out these numbers and saying we got 400 today, I'm getting the impression, I was under the belief that they were all sick and that they had fever, they were isolated and stuff like that. But that's not the case.
No, that's not the case. But what I will say is that the majority of those 400 are sick COVID positives. You have a few that are in the suspect category, but according to the CDC definition, they meet the definition criteria.
So the probable ones are sick.
The probable ones are sick and the confirmed are sick, yes.
And they have the temperature or signs of this. Okay.
Yes, well, you have some probables, I'm going to just be honest with you, you have some probables that are asymptomatic, but they still have to quarantine for the 10 days because they can still spread the virus. So while you're asking, do they have a temperature, are they sick, they don't all have to be. So if they're positive, they have to isolate for the 10 days, period. So even if they're asymptomatic.
I guess what I'm trying to get at is that I don't...
Are they infectious?
What I want to make sure is that we're giving accurate information that, people are sick and are dying, and that's correct, but not, I don't want to spread some kind of panic that everybody's, getting,
Right.
is having a bad time of this,
Right.
So I
Well, look at the.
I don't know how to best describe
You're
that or
following
how to best
CDC
do that.
guidelines, right?
We're
And
following
that-
the CDC guidelines
On how
to
you
report.
report. We're not,
Yes.
you're not making this up locally.
No.
It's-
No, I'm not saying that's the case.
Yeah.
I mean, I just,
I mean, we're
don't
following
want,
what the
I don't
CDC
want to,
guidelines say on how to report it.
Right, absolutely, following the guidelines.
and that's fine. I just, from the perspective from here, sitting here, I don't want people to panic over it.
Right, and that's not what we're trying to do. We're just trying to make sure that they understand that if there's 600 people COVID positive, those individuals are, the majority of them, maybe less 2 or 3 of the suspects, because they just went to get an antibody test after they were vaccinated. They want to know if they have antibodies. All the others are infectious and they're spreading the disease. They can spread the disease, and we have to report those, and so that's why it's on there. So.
Okay, thank you.
I think one more thing that's important is like Dr. Bird, when he does his statistics, he only uses the confirmed, and I don't even think he uses the probables, but the probables are true COVID cases as well. So he uses confirmed case only to do a lot of his statistics.
Right. Annette, thank you so much. Thank you for taking the
Great.
time to be here. It's very informative. As you can see, we have questions. But thank you. And I think, again, I'm going to say it again because it's about trying to get as many people vaccinated who want to be. We're not trying to force anyone to get vaccinated, but we are if you're on the fence. We're trying to get you to understand, like with these graphics we were talking about, the facts are the facts.
That's
and it
right.
is unvaccinated people who are in the hospital, who are passing away. And so that's the bottom line. And that's our part, our responsible part. So anyway, thank you for everything you're doing.
And thank you, Mayor, for the vaccines at home. That's really helping, and we appreciate all of your support.
Thank you, Annette.
Great,
Okay.
thank you, Annette. And Mayor and Council, yesterday I personally met with Annette to help expedite the $18 million grant that the city received to add more staff, temporary staff, to administer more vaccines. And so we know with the third shot coming up in September, we're going to need more help. And that grant should allow Annette to hire up to 1,000 more additional
To help
temporaries.
vaccinate.
Right, it's
And-
just
and
to
this
help
would be
vaccinate.
where?
What's that?
Where would this be? Like, it's set up different, or the strike teams, that kind of thing?
Yeah.
So definitely at the mall, but also we're looking at additional venues, and then we're also looking at non-venues, like pop-up clinics,
Right.
that might be at the taquerias or
And
might
you'll
be at
have
the
the
churches.
manpower.
Right, so we definitely just need to have the consistency and the manpower to continue to try to
Good.
vaccinate. That's the goal.
I love it, because we're taking, it's in-home. I mean, in restaurant, in baseball game, in,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah, taking it out to the people.
Right.
Anywhere, yeah.
That's right.
great.
So on the city council agenda today, there's a $1 million contract with Unique Employment, and that'll begin, actually, we've already begun the hiring with a small, under $50,000 contract.
Right.
But this is a $1 million for Unique, and then we're going to do 2 others in an emergency format that'll give it's kind of a nurse, all-in-one nurse, plus
Right.
additional staff to help on all aspects of more vaccinations. So that's,
Okay.
so Annette is about to get a lot more
I know.
temporary folks, right, to help out the
Good.
city-county health district.
And that said, there's a program that my office has been working on, and I think, unfortunately, I think more than I do, the Teen MVP program, which is the teen mobile vaccination program, is kicking off this week?
September 1st.
September 1st.
That's right.
Sorry. We have so much going on. So that is, I think that's going to be extremely helpful that's a great example, right?
Right.
The personnel.
The
To be
vaccination
able to go,
teams.
they're going to, we have a map, if you will, of high schools and middle schools, and we'll be taking vaccinations to the schools with permission slips going out beforehand. Parents can make that decision. And so it's going to be, I pray it's going to be a program, again, just to, do our part and try everything we can.
To protect
So
these
thank you
children.
for working with us
Yes.
on that.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Okay,
thanks, Annette.
thank you, Annette.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor, thanks you, Annette. Mayor and Council, our second item is just a quick recap on the community budget input work sessions. We know that from August 9th to August 18th, the city held 5 virtual community input sessions on the budget. There was one hosted by each city council member in each city council district. And those work sessions were on the fiscal year 2022 budget that I presented to council in late July. This is the second year in a row that we've used that format, but we had a significant number of persons attending, actually a 50% increase compared to the first time we did it a year ago. So we had over 330 residents attend those 5 meetings. Each community input, as I mentioned, was hosted by a city council member of that district, but the mayor and at-large council members were faithful in attending every one of them as well. So good support from the council, as has been the case in the past 2 years of getting out there with the community. The residents were able to live stream input on the city's YouTube page. They use Facebook. And they also use the city's public access channel, which is CCTV 20, Corpus Christi. They were able to message questions to us and leave comments through YouTube and Facebook. And they also called in. Deanna McQueen, our communications director, did a great job moderating all those questions and comments. The feedback overall, we reviewed it. We have reviewed it after each work session, but recently the budget director and I looked at it, and the overwhelming input was more street money, right? I mean, it was different than the last 2 years where there were other requests like more library services and more park amenities. So a significant amount of just comments or inquiries about let's get even more money, even though we have a record-setting street maintenance budget. And as we have done in the past 2 years, based on that community input, we try to make adjustments to the budget. So I'm going to present to council this Thursday a recommendation to increase even a little bit more the street maintenance budget. Our final property tax numbers are in now that those worksheets are completed, and we're going to have close to $900,000 available beyond what we budgeted initially. I talked to the council about initially for property tax revenue, and we want to dedicate that to more residential street maintenance. So we'll talk more about that Thursday. Just in total here, or in the rest of the calendar, next week at this city council meeting or here in the city council chambers, we'll begin the 2 reading ordinance of the budget. So next week will be public hearings and a first reading on the budget, on the property tax rate, and on the stormwater fee as well. And then the second reading of the budget and adoption will be on September 7th, Tuesday, September 7th. That's that special meeting the city secretary talked to us about. And the budget that we have been working on, that council's been putting a lot of hours in, as the community, will take effect October 1 when city council approves it on the 7th. So with that, we're going to go to item number 3, which is a quick update from Neiman on a new program that we talked to you a little bit about this morning in one of our budget work sessions. And that's the Connections to Assistance event that'll be taking place this Saturday at Flower Bluff with Councilman Smith and the mayor's assistant. So, Neiman.
Thank you, sir. Council, I'm happy to announce that the Neighborhood Services Department will host its next Connections to Assistance event in Flower Bluff, Saturday, August 28th, from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. The Connections to Assistance event is unique in the fact that its target audience is to help working families or recently out of work families. What our intent is to actually bring resources and services to the community and assist those working families with gaining access to resources that assist with housing stability. The event will take place at Ethel Airley Senior Center, which is located at 654 Graham Road in Council District 4. So before you is a slide depicting some of the city departments and our community partners that will be cooperating in the event. Services will include rental assistance for residents experiencing housing instability due to the COVID-19 pandemic, microchipping for household pets, on-site pet adoptions, low-cost spay and neuter vouchers from PAAC, city employment postings and information, and youth sports programs. In addition, code enforcement and public works will be there to provide education on code enforcement activities and stormwater information. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank some of our community partners that will be participating in the event. That includes the People Assistant Animal Control, which is PAC, the Flower Bluff Citizen Council, the Rising Tide Ministries, Workforce Solutions, and more importantly, Mr. Joe Kramer, who is one of our very vocal citizens down in Flower Bluff.
Very vocal.
Who's been working very hard.
Love Joe Kramer.
Meeting with Tracy and myself and making sure that we spread the word out in that community. So this is a slide just depicting the location for Ethel Airley Senior Center. Again, that's at 654 Graham Road. Protocols will be in place in the event to reduce the spread of COVID-19. This includes adhering to the guidelines established by the U.S. Center for Disease Control. For additional information regarding the Connections to Assistance program, you can go to www.cctexas.com/neighborhood services, or you can reach out to our interim director, Tracy Cantu, at 361-826-3010. I'll stand by for any questions.
Councilman Molina.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a great program. We had the first one there in District 2, and we had a really good turnout. I think at that time we had a lot of people that came in for animal care.
That's correct.
We got a lot of that, which is great because that's something that's very much needed in our area. And this is something that I hope that we can continue doing throughout the entire city. And I hope that that's a goal, to continue that, because I would like to have another one here at District 2 just as soon as we can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As you're aware, we stood up the Neighborhood Services Department in April, and one of the things that the city manager had asked was, hey, what's going to differentiate this department from our old way of doing business where when all these divisions were spread across the administration. And what he asked was for us to put together signature programs for the Neighborhood Services Department. We sat down with Jennifer Buxton and Tracy Cantu, sharpened our pencils, and one of the signature programs that we put together was the Connections to Assistance, which we intend to keep in our program a record going forward in districts all across the entire city.
Yeah, no, it was great. I stopped in, and there's many different city departments that were available that were ready to help the residents that were coming in and provide them with that information. So you had job opportunities, animal care, and animal microchipping available, along with other assistant type programs. So thank you for that.
Great. That's all the questions we have. Dr. Young,
Awesome.
thank you
Great.
very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Neiman.
Yes, sir.
And Neiman's done an outstanding job helping to set that up, the Connections to Assistance. So thank you, Neiman, and your team. And Mr. Murphy, we're going to just bring him up real quick for the final city manager report, which is our weekly update on the seawater desalination project.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. So the first item is just to do a little house cleaning from last meeting, and there were questions regarding the location. If we can go to the next slide, please. The question was the Seven Seas site, how it relates to the location of the Harbor Island site that the port has got permits on. And so the question was, are these the same site? No, they are not the same site. And we've got a map here showing the location of the two sites just for clarification. And we'll make sure that the council members who are absent will get a copy of this. But you can see in yellow, that is the location, the proposed location of Seven Seas. And I did confirm that yesterday with Terry Arnold at Seven Seas. He did confirm that site location. And then the Harbor Island site that the port has currently got permits pending with the TCEQ. Okay, so yeah, that's the blue one. I'm sorry, the blue one.
The blue one is what, Neil? It's very hard. It's dark.
Okay. Sorry. So I don't know. I'll get you guys handouts and we'll go from there. So there are two sites on the map. I don't know what you're.
Yeah, we can see it. It's just a little
Okay.
dark. Yeah.
Okay,
But
so
go ahead.
the blue site is the port site, and there's a small red dot that shows their discharge point.
Okay.
That they're trying to permit.
Right, at the far end. Okay.
Okay, can you see that?
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the yellow site is the one that the Seven Seas has acquired the rights to that property. Okay? And so the other thing, just to let you know, as we close out the budget process, we are going to try to schedule either another workshop with council or briefings with council members. And then I think, Mayor, at the last desal presentation last week, you had asked us to set up a public meeting, and so we're going to be working on that too. So in the September-October timeframe, we're going to be looking at doing both of those.
Okay.
Okay?
Great, thank you. And
You're
thank you
welcome.
for that follow-up. I was going to ask. Thank you.
Good, Mayor. That concludes the city manager's report.
Okay. Okay, great. Let's see here. We've got a very short consent agenda, and does anyone have any item to pull from items numbers 2 and then 4 through 11?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Actually, Mayor, I had a question
Okay.
on some of these here. I wanted to ask on the number 8.
You want to pull number 8?
Number 8.
Okay, so we're going to pull number 8, and we can now pass items numbers 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 11. And Mr. Pesley, you had made a motion? Okay.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion passes. And item number 8 is a motion authorizing a 5-year service agreement with SWCA Incorporated of San Antonio to provide permitting services.
Good afternoon, Council. Gabriel Hinojosa, Assistant Director with Public Works, here to answer questions on agenda item number 8.
Yeah, could you kind of just give a description of exactly what this entails? There's some information here that wasn't real clear, and I just want to get your perspective as what we're trying to accomplish here.
Okay, so the city currently has 5 industrial site permits, which include the airport, the marina, solid waste, fleet services, and one more. So it has to do with the stormwater pollution permits associated with those 5 industrial sites that the city currently has. So this this consultant will come in. These permits are 5-year permits, so they're coming up to their terms here in August. So the consultant will help us renew those permits for another 5 years. They will also maintain those permits over the next 5 years.
Okay. I just never heard of this company before, and I wanted to get an idea of what was happening here. And only 6,900 from the remaining part of this year, the rest of it coming from 2022. Is that correct?
Correct, sir, the funding.
Or does it go beyond that?
The total funding for year 1 will be $46,000, but this fiscal year will only be
Right.
that portion.
So this goes on for several years?
Yes, it's a renewable 5-year contract.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yes, sir.
With that, I make a motion to approve.
Okay, any further discussion? Oh, Mr. Pesley.
Yeah, if everyone remember, I asked that this be tabled last meeting because I had concerns about the fact that they were substantially lower on their bid, but staff got back with me. They did some research, and they feel comfortable that this company can do the job. So.
Yes, sir.
Great. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. The motion passes. Okay, so we will now go ahead and break for lunch. The council will go into executive session as well on item number 14, per Texas Government Code Sections 551.071 and 551.072. We will return shortly.